Hey guys, sorry if the lighting is kind of weird. I'm filming in the evening right now, and I find when there's not any natural sunlight, it's really shadowy in here. So I turned my ring light up like all the way. So it's all the way up. So I feel like I look kind of weird. So in today's video, I wanted to talk about true crime book. I think it was last year. Yeah, I want to say it was 2020. I was really into reading true crime books and wanting to know about like famous like serial killers. Just a lot of people that I followed on Instagram were really into it, and I just kind of wanted to know what it was about. Like, you always hear in passing about these like crazy situations and all these names, and sometimes I'm kind of like, oh, I hate not knowing about that. So it was more like, I think it's interesting to kind of delve into the psychology and the thoughts of, you know, these people, and to kind of see how their mind works and stuff. Like when I was at university, I took a lot of psychology courses, and I don't know, I just find this stuff so interesting. So these are some of the books that I read. I'm not really into true crime really anymore. I feel like I've kind of read all the books that I wanted to really get to. I was kind of just like one after the other last year, so there's nothing really left that I'm curious about. But I mean, if something, you know, if something ever does kind of tickle my curiosity, I might read it. But I'm gonna start with the books that I own physically. A lot of them I listened to on audiobook and borrowed from the library. Actually, I think this was the first book because I feel like this is the one that most people know about. So this is The Stranger Beside Me by Anne Rule. The shocking inside story of serial killer Ted Bundy. And it's got like pictures and stuff inside. I haven't read any other ones yet, but I feel like this is like the most well-known and definitive book about Ted Bundy. I mean, especially by somebody who knew him, you know, like that's a crazy situation. What are the odds? And like, she was in the midst of writing her first true crime book while she knew him. So like, and I think she was actually writing about murdering and stuff that was happening that was him, but she didn't obviously know at the time. It's wild. I mean, like, they worked at like a suicide hotline together, so I mean, he like saved a couple lives also, so it's just like, it was a wild ride. Yeah, I thought this was really good and really captivating. It kept my interest, and he would kind of pretend to be hurt and stuff to get women to help him. Like, you know, you're thinking, oh, a guy in a cast, he just needs help. Yes, like that makes sense. And he's innocent, and you know, he was considered very good looking in the 70s. He just seemed like an all-around American guy. He was a student himself. Like, you know, you didn't think normal looking people could do something like this. So I mean, he had a lot going for him to really get these people to trust him and get in, you know, get close to his car or get in his car. And the scary thing about this book is like, I am sitting here like, oh my gosh, I would have 100% been killed by Ted Bundy, because I'm really bad at knowing how to say no to people, you know. Like, I think honestly in this situation now, just like, you know, with reading these books, it's kind of like instilled a kind of message of like, you know, if you don't feel comfortable and you don't feel safe and you just really don't know, like, I mean, you know, you would feel like a jackass to not help somebody who has a cast on or has help, and maybe it like is a real situation. But I'm just gonna be like, not today, Ted Bundy, not today. So yeah, I feel like everybody knows who Ted Bundy is. Maybe you don't know much about him like me, how I didn't, and you want to go for that. Well, actually, okay, so this is the book that I can't find. Since we're on the topic of Ted Bundy, I'll talk about a book that also involves him, which was called The Phantom Prince, which is by his girlfriend at the time. Like, he had a long-term girlfriend, and she didn't really, I mean, there were signs of weirdness, like weird stuff happening, but she didn't really clue in, and she was kind of down on herself, and she didn't think that she deserved better and stuff. So it wasn't the best book. Interesting. I mean, very short. It's not a very long book. So I mean, if you kind of just want to see her point of view and her side of things, not like her side of things, but just how it impacted her life and how she missed some of the signs and how like things just added up, but she wasn't really noticing and stuff. So, yeah, I mean, that was interesting as well. And I will put that on the list because I think it's kind of like an interesting side book to go with that. Again, by somebody who knew Ted Bundy, you know what I mean? So it's kind of like, it's an inside look to his life and how he lived and what he was like. So right. And actually, I think this was probably my second true crime book, Helter, Skelter. Yeah, this was also interesting because, again, kind of another big name, and I didn't know anything about Manson murders at the time. Like, I just knew that there were Manson murders. I knew the man was in jail. That was really all I knew. So I've heard people say this is like a really biased opinion. I don't really know. This was the only book that I read. I do own another book. I can't remember what it's called. Like, I can't find any of my books. What the heck? I'll insert a picture here because I know like what it looks like. So I want to read that book as well. When will I get to it? Not sure. It's not high on my TBR or anything. Like, I'm not in a rush. I kind of feel like I know what I know, and then I'm okay with that. I mean, there's a lot of books on the Manson murders, so these were also really wild. It's told by the prosecution against the Manson family. That's interesting. Also, again, sort of an inside look, because he was actually there and present at the time that they were on trial. Yeah, but if you just kind of want like a general overview of kind of what the case is, what he did, this wasn't that bad. Now the next book is I'll Be Gone in the Dark by Michelle McNamara. He actually was like really a key factor in catching the Golden State Killer. So basically it was a guy was terrorizing Californians for like a decade, disappeared in 1986 to never be like really heard of again. He never got caught. So, well, when this book came out, unfortunately she passed away. So I believe it was finished by someone else, or maybe this was just like what she had finished and then they published it. So unfortunately she didn't get to see that he actually got caught. Not that long. Well, yeah. I mean, I won't say who or what he was in case you want to like maybe look that up for yourself, or maybe you've even already heard about it. But I think that she played a pivotal role in catching him. Like, she had a blog and stuff and over the case files and stuff when, you know, the FBI and police and stuff didn't have the resources to keep going over it. That's amazing. Like, that her work in this book and her blog and stuff helped capture a killer. Like, good for her, you know what I mean? I mean, it's too bad that she passed away before she got to have the satisfaction of finding out who it was. Yeah. So if you want to find out like what she had to say and who her thoughts were and who the perpetrator was, I wouldn't say that it was my absolute favorite. I mean, I hate saying that, but another really interesting book. So again, I think I already mentioned that I kind of went for ones that were like high profile cases and stuff, just so that way I had kind of a general knowledge of these things, you know? I mean, you always hear like, don't drink the Kool-Aid, and I'm like, girl, what does that mean? What does that mean to me? You know what I mean? It had kind of something to do with the Jonestown, but I never really knew. And then, you know, I'd always look it up and be like, oh, he made them drink poison Kool-Aid. Okay, I get it. Like, but then I'd kind of be like, I feel like I need to know more. So I read The Road to Jonestown, or actually, well, I listened to the audiobook, and that was really good. That was incredibly interesting. Like, it's crazy that it actually kind of started off as something that could have been really positive, but it all went to his head. Like, he started out kind of as like a pastor or a preacher, and he actually had a good message and wanted good things for people, and it just, I don't know if his intentions from the get-go were gonna turn sinister, you know, in his mind, or if it just kind of progressed as he got more and more power and more money. You know, you get to kind of hear about his childhood, what he was like. Very, very fascinating read or listen. I definitely would give that one a whirl. It's so sad. It's so sad. You know, people think that all these people wanted to drink the Kool-Aid when actually the majority of them were forced to. Like, they were like, we're either going to kill you or you're going to drink it. You know what I mean? So they didn't really have a choice. So I think that people get that wrong. And I thought that was incredibly interesting about the book. I hope that wasn't a spoiler. I feel like people already kind of know these things, just like sitting in the dark. But yeah, very, very captivating. It kind of gives you an idea of cult mentality as well, which was another thing that I sort of learned in like the couple psychology courses that I got a chance to take. Like, you know, when you're in a group of people, you would do things that you would never do on your own and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, just very, very interesting. So give it a whirl. Oh, another incredibly, I mean, they're all incredibly sad. What do I mean? Columbine, very, very well written. It was always one that I was interested in reading and knowing more about as well. And it just goes to show, because I think everyone thinks that, like, you know, both of these boys were friends. Like, I mean, they were friends with each other. One of them was actually incredibly popular, I think. Like, I believe he was, like, quite popular. Like, I would really give that one a try as well. Another book that I read. This one I did physically read. I borrowed it from the library. It was the BTK Killer. That one was probably one of the hardest to read, because I feel like that one went into a lot of detail that I feel like a lot of people can't handle. I mean, like, knowing it was real life made it, like, you know, all the worst. But I mean, I do watch a lot of, like, horror movies and stuff, so I'm just kind of trying to think of it as, like, this is a horror movie. But, like, I mean, he was getting away with that for a very long time, and he made one stupid mistake and got caught. Thank goodness. Yeah, that's really interesting because it gives it from the perspective of we know who it is from the beginning. It shows, like, the chase and the catch, but then it also, like, back to show what he's doing in his real life is what he's doing in his criminal life. And it's just, yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I just explained that right. Like, it would say, you know, like, these terrible things that he did, but then also the life that he led in the meantime, and, like, how he was able to follow these women, and, like, just the lengths that he went to make sure that they couldn't escape, that he had enough time to do everything he wanted to do, that he knew their routines. Wild. Very, very scary. Oh, another good one, which really, like, spoke to my psychology, sociology, loving mind. Sociology? Would that be included? Is that not the study of human behavior too? And how we act in social settings? Anyway, Mindhunter. And believe it or not, I have not watched the TV show. I read the book and then I was kind of like, do I have to watch the TV show? I listened to the audiobook and I don't really remember too much about it, but I do really remember that I enjoyed it and it was very fascinating. I can't remember which cases it covered, but it did cover some cases that I knew about. It was like the FBI side of it versus, like, you know, someone who knew that. Yeah, and then it was like how they started creating profiles for people. Profilers came to be, and yeah, I don't know. It was very fascinating, kind of like behind the scenes stuff that you don't really think about, but helps these people. So and just really delves into how they try to think like a killer, think like these people. So if that sounds interesting, I definitely would give that a go as well. I did read the trial of Lizzie Borden. Again, kind of like, you hear her name in passing and I didn't know anything about her. Where it happened so long ago, and there's not really any direct evidence of what exactly happened, so we're never gonna know exactly what happened. That's just, like, for me, that's satisfying. Like, in my movies, in my shows, in my books, I like to know. Like, I need a concrete answer. I don't like to come up with a conclusion for myself, you know? I mean, especially in something that actually happened in real life. Like, it just gives, like, what happened, what she may or may not have done, what may or may not have happened. Just, like, a general gist of Lizzie Borden and the axe murdering and stuff. So if you're like me and just curious as to what happened, I totally forget, because I think when a book's not, like, my favorite, it just kind of, my brain just puts it in the trash. But I do remember being interested enough to, like, obviously listen to it all the way through. I listened to that on audiobook, and it was okay. Again, not my favorite, but it was okay. And the last book that I'll mention in this video, one of my absolute favorites. I was really into listening to audiobooks. I started listening to a podcast called Last Podcast on the Left, and they would talk about everything, serial killers, murders, horror, anything like that. Just like, so I listened to pretty well all of the podcasts at the time that they about each of these murders here and serial killers and stuff. And they put out a book called The Last Book on the Left, and I listened to it on audio. So I wanted to hear, because they narrate it, and it's so, I mean, if that's distasteful for you, they make it hilarious. Like, they're just so funny. Like, they just take these macabre things, spin them into this, like, hilarious commentary. I mean, if that's not for you, or you feel like that's distasteful, like, I totally get it. They're so funny. I thought it was a very, very funny podcast. Like, they're just funny guys. Like, you know what I mean? Like, they do obviously pay respects and be respectful. Like, they're making fun of the serial killers, because I mean, like, they're not nice people, you know? So I mean, they're just kind of making fun of them and poking fun at them, like, not ever, you know, like, the victims or anything like that. Never. So that's what makes it, like, funny for me. It's just a bit of, like, dark humor, unfortunately, about real life, but yeah, great book. I got through it so fast. I thought it was just a really, really, really well done book. Yeah. So I mean, I know true crime is not for everybody. I don't know, like, I don't want to create waves or anything. Like, I'm not trying to, like, offend anybody or what have you. These are just, like, books that I found to be interesting. Like, you know, I feel like it kind of gave me more of, like, a, you know, be careful of your surroundings. Like, I don't know. So yeah, if I've ever wanted to read true crime, I think some of those would be a really good place to start. I did read a couple other true crime books that I didn't bother to talk about because I don't feel like they are worth the time and the effort to read them. So, and again, I've read everything that I wanted to read. Like, I just kind of wanted to know the gist of all these people, and now that I do, I'm kind of over it. I don't even listen to like the last podcast on the left anymore. Like, it's just like, it was like a 2020 thing, and 2020 is over and done. We don't want her. We don't want to see her. So, but yeah, I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye.